Last week, my parents phoned me asking to come down this past Friday as they wanted to talk to me about something important and preferred to do it face to face. I agreed and came down Friday and we talked. My parents said that they've been delaying doing their wills for so long and decided it's finally time to get their affairs in order. I have a brother who's older than me, but he's autistic and I don't know if non-verbal is the right word, as he can only say a few words like mom and dad, and although he's 26, it's more like he's a 10-year-old, if that makes sense. My parents told me they've got some plans to go into the will, and they've said their plan is if one of them were to die first, then my brother will live with the lone parent part-time and a care, home-assisted facility part-time to give that parent a break. Then, if the lone parent dies, the plan is for my brother to come and live with me, and they will set some trust up so that each month whatever he inherits goes into living costs. For example, if he inherited $100,000, not the actual amount, a trust would have been set up and $1,000 would come out each month to cover his living costs. I said my brother has the mind of a 10-year-old because he can't do anything without the help of our parents, like him getting dressed, cleaned and ready, and helping him with tasks and activities. My family members take turns at the weekends to have him so my parents can have a break to relax and recuperate. I know it's wrong of me, but I'm not emotional and I'm not sympathetic. I said to my parents that I was not giving up my career to look after him, and when they both died, I wouldn't be taking him in. My brother-sibling relationship is non-existent, and I don't feel equipped to look after him. I'm honest and will say he would feel like a massive burden to me. I voiced my reasoning to my parents, and I thought they would be more understanding. He's better off in a place where people can help him and know what they're doing. I'm not prepared to give up my career or anything for him. I also stated to my parents I was more than happy to give up my half of the inheritance so the money could go on making sure he's looked after, like setting up a trust fund so if they died and he went into assisted living facility, his bills are paid and there's an allowance for him each month. My parents are completely upset with me and are disappointed in me for this. I feel justified, but now I'm wondering if I've been a total witch and an idiot when it comes to this. Not the idiot. Their planning has no business including you. You are your own person with your own life. Suddenly becoming a full-time caregiver would be exhausting. Your plan of giving up any inheritance is well thought out. Your brother would thrive in an assisted living environment. I've seen all of this before. My neighbour's daughter moved into a group home in her 20s. Her mum calls and visits several times a week. She has a set routine. She gets up and gets ready. She has her friends. The group home has regular outings. Trips to the park, walks, shopping trips, movies, etc. They go to museums. When she came and visited her parents for the holidays, she told me she was just visiting her mom and dad because she's an adult and lives on her own. She liked her independence at moving into an adult care home. This is the way. The staff are much better at day-to-day enrichment than her parents could be. Social security and state programs might even cover the group home. It's interesting how the parents thought of scenarios where either of them would pass away, but there doesn't seem to be any mention if anything happens to OP, which renders them unable to take care of anyone. It seems like OP is plan B and there's no plan after that. Exactly, they seem to think that OP may not want to get married, have children, or have her own life. They had a second child to be the caretaker of their first one, and that's the only reason they got pregnant. Honey, your parents need to make realistic plans. Not in my Disney fantasy. Our other kid agrees to take an adult-sized 5-year-old for their entire life. I, 32 female, am a divorced mom of 2. My son is an older tween and my daughter is a younger tween. My ex and I ended our relationship in 2017 and he remarried in 2021. His wife has no children of her own. This topic is one that she approached a few times with me, starting when my ex first married her. She told me that now that they were a 2-parent household, I didn't need to attend all games, recitals, plays, etc. because she would be going to them and there only needed to be one. I ignored it because I've always gone to that kind of thing. I'm self-employed, so I can easily plan my working day around events for my kids. My kids also want me there. They always tell me about the more significant moments of their extracurriculars or school and tell me when I should be there or if I need tickets, etc. My ex goes when he can, which isn't often, and he never goes to anything he doesn't consider big enough. My ex's wife mentioned to me again last year that she wanted to go alone and I needed only to show up when it was my parenting time. Yet again, I ignored her request and continued showing up. My ex mentioned it to me also, and I told him that we could both go to their activities whenever we like, and the court order does not dictate it since it doesn't take parenting time to show up and support our children. My son had a recital a couple of weeks ago, and he told me they were asked if they could get parental volunteers. I said, of course I would do it. My ex's wife had asked when she was picking him up from dance class one day if she could do more. They mentioned volunteers and she offered. We both arrived together, and she was upset the whole 2 hours we were helping out. She was especially upset when I stayed. Afterwards, she told me she was trying to create a special bond with the kids, but they will never want her around as long as I'm there, and if I was a good person, and Mom, I would do the right thing and not show up every time and give her a chance to do it so she can show an extra effort for my kids. I told her I would always show up as long as my kids want me and as long as I can physically do it. She told me her relationship with the kids is important though, and I honestly told her it's not important to me and that my kids' wishes and relationship with them are more important. My ex's wife told me I was an idiot, and she called me a selfish and jealous baby mama and accused me of unreasonable hatred. My ex also gave me a hard time about it afterward. Not the idiot, I suggest you keep a record of her remarks, what she says, when and where, in case it's useful in a parental alienation claim in the courts. And to call you the baby mama is entirely weird since it's intended as an insult. You are your children's mother. Full stop. She's trying to push you out of your own kids' lives. She told me that now that they were a two-parent household, there was no need for me to show up. What a BS statement. Of course you're going to show up. You love your kids. You're their mother. She sounds unhinged and is trying to take your place as their mother. Oh dear, your kid's new stepmom is trying to replace you in their lives. Your ex needs to pull his head out of his butt. If you can, or if you have a good friend your kids trust, carefully find out how she treats them and talks about you when they're under her care. Record it if you can, you may need it. Your kids need their mom. You. My wife, 31, and I, 33 male, have a toddler boy. He currently goes to daycare during the day. I drop him off and my wife's mother will pick him up. My wife cannot drive, so she unfortunately cannot take him. I found out that if I get my son out the door by 8:45, I can get him to daycare and then be on time for work. Unfortunately, my wife tends to drag her feet with getting him fed and ready, so she's caused me to be late multiple times. I'm in a field where I simply cannot be late, and therefore this situation is unacceptable. I've been late 4 times since he started going to daycare, and my wife has only gotten less consistent. Last Wednesday, I realized that if I waited for my wife to get him fully ready, I'd be late to work. I simply walked out the door. She called me screaming angrily, but I told her that if she didn't want him to stay home, she should have had him ready on time. The next day, she managed to get him out right at 8:45, but on Friday it became clear again that she would cause me to be late. I just walked out the door. She texted me multiple times, and when I got home at around 11 p.m, she had a lot to say about it. I don't think I'm the idiot for my policy, seeing as I simply cannot afford to be late to work, but I wonder if there's something I'm not seeing here. Edit, I have 2 jobs. We cannot afford our current lifestyle and daycare on my daytime job salary alone. My wife is not looking for work and my son is not autistic. My wife says that she's overwhelmed. Her mother usually stays over for some time, but on some days she has other matters to which she must attend and leaves early. She doesn't drive because of anxiety. Wait, you leave at 8:45 a.m. and get home at 11 p.m? I'm not saying you're wrong, but why is your son in daycare, which you cannot afford, and your wife isn't working? What does she do all day while your son is at daycare? Have you talked to your wife about the fact that you cannot afford your lifestyle and you will have no relationship with your child since you're never home? Do you want to have a relationship with your child? I feel like there are more significant issues here that, if dealt with, you wouldn't have this issue. So the husband's working overtime to support the wife who wants to be a stay-at-home wife while also having childcare? I don't understand it. It may seem harsh, but the wife needs to be an equal partner in the marriage, even if she gets overwhelmed. I always say that these people must be amazing in bed because I can't figure out for the life of me any other reason why someone would put up with that crap. I'm absolutely certain that if I ever tried to pull such a stunt, the man I had children with would have divorced me, like without even a discussion. I just come home one day and find my crap packed. OP, what you're doing is unsustainable. You're going to burn yourself out. Also, you're missing your kid growing up. This is completely and utterly ridiculous. You're working 13 hours, not getting home till 11 p.m, and then doing chores before you go to bed. Your wife doesn't drive, doesn't work, doesn't look after the kid all day, and still cannot get him sorted out on time so you can take him to daycare and be at work on time and keep your job. The job that's paying for her entire lifestyle is to do nothing. This is a bigger problem than the kid not being ready on time. This is a come-to-Jesus talk time with your wife. So my daughter, young grammar schooler, is a very picky eater. Not in the sense that she will pout and whine if she doesn't like what's on her plate, but more like she will throw up and have something resembling a mini panic attack. Because of that, whenever we have our weekly dinners with my husband's side of the family, my mother-in-law will make a separate dish for my daughter that she knows she'll like. My daughter hates most spices, so most of the time no one else will want her food, so there's no need to make it a dish for everyone. 2 days ago we had our dinner and we were running a little late because it had been a bad day for my daughter and we were both irritated at that point. When we got there, I saw my nephew, teen, eating my daughter's food. I knew it was hers since she was having a completely different dish than everyone else, and my mother-in-law had told her what it was and sent me a picture to show my daughter since it was a new recipe she was trying. My daughter also saw it and started bawling. It was a very hard day for her already, and I guess this was what finally broke her. Everyone came running into the kitchen to see what was happening, and when my sister-in-law saw what her son was doing, she immediately scolded him, but the damage was done. I gave my daughter to my husband and asked him to wait for me in the car. Once they left, I snapped at my nephew that just because his parents never taught him to shut his mouth for a little while doesn't mean he can just eat whatever he wanted. He knew it was my daughter's food, he knew how she was about food, and he still chose to eat it. I gave my sister-in-law a hard look and left. Everyone has been bombing the family group chat, fighting over who was in the wrong. Edit, by my sister scolding my nephew, I mean that she pointed at my daughter's food, told him not to do that next time since it was his cousin's food, and lightly slapped his wrist like he was a 5-year-old. Also, my daughter's food was on the other end of the counter, so no one would get confused. Am I the idiot? You are the idiot. It was up to your sister-in-law to deal with her son. You keep your big mouth out of it. Plus, you don't even know what precipitated this, as you weren't there. You were late. It was your mother-in-law's dinner to serve, so she should have said something about, "This is daughter's food, please don't eat it." It was sister-in-law's job to ensure her kid had manners enough to know not to eat someone else's food. Above all, it's sister-in-law's responsibility to deal with her son and for you to keep out of it. Get your kid checked out. Picky eaters don't vomit. She may have something medical going on. As the parent, if it's that important to your kid, you should be the one bringing and preparing her solo meal. It's gracious of someone else to do it, but it's your job. Everyone's the idiot here, but I don't know your nephew's intentions. I doubt you do either. It could have been an honest mistake, but you blew up at him, and it sounds like you didn't give him a chance to explain himself. If it was so important for OP's daughter to eat a special meal made by the grandmother who had been excitedly texting her pics of said meal throughout the day, a parent should have brought it and cooked it. Bring and cook a meal someone else has already cooked and sent pics of. Bring and cook a meal made by grandma? Just how? Oh, and they dragged sister-in-law into it by giving her a hard look after she'd already dealt with the situation. But yeah, OP did nothing wrong. LMAO. I think one of us is intoxicated, my friend, and I'm pretty sure it's not me. It was my teen male birthday yesterday, and I was opening the gifts that my parents had bought me. I've never been interested in sports, I find them really boring. I like painting and art way more, and my parents know that. Almost every birthday they give me sports-related gifts, footballs, some team merch, etc. I don't even know what some of it is because I could care less about sports. I asked my parents to get me a specific set of pens for my birthday. I've wanted them for ages. I opened my presents and every single one of them was sport-related. I just sat there and started crying in front of them. I didn't mean to cry. It was embarrassing, but I felt like they never listened to me. They've spent all this money on expensive gifts that they know I hate and will never use. I told them this and they accused me of being ungrateful and said that I'd ruined the day. They sent me to my room and I haven't really spoken to them since. Am I the idiot? Should I just be grateful that they got me anything at all? Not the idiot. What is wrong with your parents? Why would they think you would like this stuff? Are they trying to change who you are somehow, or impose their own hobbies on you? Your parents are thoughtless jerks and bad gift givers, and this is a parenting fail. You should be ungrateful, and they ruined your day. They should make it up to you, not send you to your room. Get the receipts, take the gifts back and exchange them. You're not crying over the gifts, you're crying over not being heard or understood. That is a valid response, and I'm sorry they aren't listening to you. Your parents are showing you that they don't respect your individuality. They're trying to funnel you into a certain presentation that they see as more typically masculine. Sell the gifts and get those desired pens. There is absolutely nothing wrong with you. Your parents are projecting their views of what you should be onto you instead of letting you be yourself.